Yeah. Hello, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session, and apologies a little bit. We know that we are a bit short of time, but we needed to also double check our technology was going to be working, and it seems that it's going to be exciting. We hope it's going to be working, but we will have to wait and see. As you know, this session is on some of the projects that LIND, the language industry group here at the European Union, has been organizing with certain universities on the use of technologies and bringing them to the classroom, working with teachers and so on. So today I've got a few colleagues with me that have been both welcoming some of the people working, developing this technology, and also people from the technological angle as well. We're going to follow a little bit of a pattern here. So we're going to start with Andres, if I can remember. Vasilej and close, and then he's going to be talking about some of the projects that have been conducted in terminology management and machine translation. Then we'll move on to two colleagues from the University of Turku, Leena Salmi and Marianne Kaltiokumpu-Bolgren. Close. And they will be discussing project management, and then the little time at the end will be actually standing in as well and show you some of the projects that we've got in the pipe to deal with audiovisual translation and cloud-based platforms. So Andre, I'll leave you now. We've only got, I thought we had until 11:20, but we've been told just now that it's going to be until 11:15. So we'll have to cut up a little bit of time there.
Good morning. My name is Andres Vasiljevs. Pronunciation is always a bit difficult. So we need probably some automated tools to help us to be good with names in different languages. And I'm going to share our experience of Tilde company in working with universities and cooperating to help provide needed skills and in university education process, and also to learn from universities what is important from technological perspective to advance in future generation, next generation of computing tools to support translators, the next generation of translators. And a few words who we are. I'm head of language technology and language service company Tilde, and also happy to be part of this LIND group at the DGT. And we work a lot in the field of machine translation, develop machine translation tools and terminology tools and language processing tools. And also we do provide not only technology services, but also translation and localization services, combining the skills of human experts with advancements in language technologies. And we are located in 3 Baltic capitals, in Riga, Vilnius, and Tallinn, and have a strong group of language experts, software experts, and researchers in language technologies and machine translation. And actually, what do we see the big transition in language industry? And it used to be one wave of transition in early 90s in computer-assisted translation. But what we do see now, it's becoming, as some say, more and more human-assisted translation. the technologies play as important role as humans, and the best combination of human expertise and software possibilities, especially with advancements of AI, can provide the winning combination what makes translators, language specialists strong in this changing future. And there is still a very important place for humans in not only now, but in this new age of AI. How universities can cope with requirements and needs to follow these rapid developments in technological field. It's difficult for companies, for industry, because technologies are developing so fast, but it's even more difficult for universities, of course, and probably it's not the most important role of university teachers and academic staff to be experts in the very latest tools, but they play an important role in providing the basic skills and background. And when industry can help in working together with universities, showing the latest tools, the latest practices, and cooperating with universities in this way. And how does it work in practice, in experience of our company? We do work extensively with local universities in Baltic countries in a different way. It's quite like broad spectrum of cooperation. And our countries are small, and so we believe that we have to work together to advance the skills of future translators, language specialists, and universities. When universities approach us, we try to find the best way how we can fit their needs. And just some examples how we do that. One of EMT universities in Latvia, Ventspils University College, Ventspils Augstskola, we do organize regularly these such kind of field visits where students in master studies are coming to companies, visiting them, learning from presentations, but probably most interesting for students is this shadowing work. Shadowing translators, shadowing project managers, shadowing also client account managers, and this provides them the first-hand experience how this localization translation business is running in real life. And we do that at our company, and a few other companies in our region also provide this opportunity, and this gives students like a broad perspective what's going on in the industry. With other EMT university in Latvia, Riga Technical University, we are happy to be represent industry part at the university advisory board, and this is common practice at this technical university, not only in translation studies, but in also other fields to regularly consult with industry and to adjust curricula and to understand industry needs so that we can meet the requirements of business environment. And with board, I represent a cooperation with translation studies at this university, and we meet together with other faculty representatives to discuss university policy in this area. And when with University of Latvia, we have another EMT university in our region. We have a regular cooperation, giving them lectures to students in master studies about machine translation, terminology management, providing access to machine translation tools and the terminology management tools, so that these are part of tutorials what students have in their courses. And because we do have quite a strong research team with very respected researchers in machine translation and terminology field, they can complement the lectures that were done by university academic staff. And probably the closest and most extensive cooperation in the region we do have is Tallinn University. It started 6 years ago in 2012. This university saw the need and opportunity to work together with our company, and later it was extended into a cooperation with broader cooperation with Association of Estonian Translation Companies to create and provide a full course on translation software. And this course is for second-year students in master studies, and actually in the first phase of this course, it was focused on mostly on tools and technologies, on basic translation tools, CAT tools, showing them how industry use CAT tools in their everyday work, on machine translation tools, on quality checking practices, on basics of using computer assistants in working with online dictionaries and glossaries, and so on. And then now this course is extended, and several companies that are part of this Estonian Association of Translation Industry joined this cooperation framework, and now we can, together with other companies, can provide a broader spectrum of topics in this course, including overview of translation market, in organization of roles and responsibilities and workflows at translation company, focusing also quite a lot on of project management aspects, automating the project management process. It's actually very challenging aspect, because we see an increasing shift from larger translation projects into very small constant flow of translation requests from few pages even to 1 or 2 sentences, but should be translated immediately in high quality. And it's impossible to do that without full automation from in the project processing flow up to the computer assisted and machine translation assisted translation, quality checking, validation, and delivery, and also accounting process to reimburse the expenses. Particularly, module on machine translation is quite popular among students. Some of them choose this topic as a topic for thesis work, and we also assist with students in this work. And this year, this was very interesting. One student is working on application of machine translation for translating subtitles for the audiovisual materials. This is great experience, because we help them to
in learning how to use tools, and we learn a lot from with student work about the new application areas and about the features that are needed to make our tools more usable in these scenarios. And also some students willing to have, and we do provide internship opportunities for a few months at the company where we get practical skills, and also it's good for both sides because in this way some of them are happy to stay with the company and choose it as a permanent career path after studies. And such like in-depth cooperation is possible, because we can meet face to face. We can give our experts and researchers and engineers can jointly give these lectures and assist in these tutorials. But what we discussed in the LIND framework, how to scale up this industry involvement in academic teaching process on a broader scale, because it would be very difficult and almost impossible to work in this way with many universities across Europe. It's by far too expensive and time consuming. And so the solution what we discussed was to provide remote online courses and to provide access to tools and services so that we would kind of standardize a couple of these modules or offerings for universities, what they can include in their curricula, and in such a way have efficient in terms of time and broad in terms of scale up opportunity cooperation model. And for this we tried 2 pilots, and we offered EMT universities 1 pilot on customized machine translation. So students now are quite savvy how to use online tools like Google, free online tools like Google Translate. But what industry actually use mostly are customized machine translation, what is customized and tailored for specific domains and client needs. And in this way providing secure, respecting confidentiality of translated material, and also providing the highest translation quality. So this first model was to show how these customization tools can make machine translation fit to particular tasks, translation tasks. And the second pilot is on terminology management, organization of terminology workflow, including integration with machine translation. And these topics what covered in this first model is like both more theoretical part of about the background of this approach, about data-driven machine translation, data role, how to prepare the data, how data determines the output that machine translation is able to provide, how machine translation can be integrated and used in CAD tools, and how adjust and customize empty systems. And part of this is a practical tutorial where students get their access credential to the machine translation customization platform. And actually I can show you like few slides just to give you an impression. So this is a workplace what we do provide, the EMT workplace, where students can use pre-trained machine translation systems, where they can do data preparation tasks to train new machine translation systems. And actually, this is the first screen how we can train their own MT system by specifying parameters, specifying the parallel data, monolingual data, what is used for training, by specifying configuration models, by adding terminology lists, and when pressing the final button to develop very own machine translation system. Of course, in this tutorial, it's not like a real live production system, but we can develop in such a small tutorial. We do offer like a smaller data sets so that this process can go relatively fast, but we can see how the input data is turned into the output of machine translation. And when this system is ready, is trained, we can play with it and actually see how you can use it in online translation or in integration in CAD tools. So it's not just some generic system, but the system that we have trained, their very own MT system. A very important part of this process is quality evaluation. It's a big topic, how to evaluate quality of machine translation system, and we also show them different tools, automated and human evaluation tools, so that we can see how good is the system, how well can it fit for their particular translation task. And the second module is on terminology work, and again for strong advancements in online tools for terminology management that helps to automate the process of identifying terms in the source texts, finding the matches in other languages, and preparing terminology lists what could be used in CAD tools, and also could be fed into a machine translation system to train it to use particular terminology in the translation work. And again, we do provide both, offer both a theoretical part of the basics of this terminology management, what lies behind the automated tools, and access, free access to tools for working with terminology bases, with Eurotermbank terminology base, and the terminology service tools, TaaS tools, terminology as a service tools, that where you can upload documents, extract terminology lists, and work with terminology collections. And when students can see that how these resulting terms can be then integrated into the work process in CAD tools, mostly in these universities what we work with, we use SDL Trados as a CAD tool, but we use in their studies for tutorials. And we were happy to pilot these two courses, with machine translation course with University of Turku, and you will hear a bit later how his experience at Turku working with different industry players, and with University of Brussels on terminology, terminology tools. And our experience or lessons learned from this is that we believe that industry can help universities by getting access to these tools and helping students to learn industry practices and these opportunities. To make this cooperation efficient, it's important to do a good preparation work, because there's very different background for students who take these courses at different universities, and it's important to understand how much information should be provided in these lecture parts, what is already covered in the previous courses, and what's not. At some universities, not in these what I mentioned, but in our region, we see that some students even do not have basic skills working with CAT tools, and when it's very difficult to tell them how to use machine translation in CAT if they do not know how to work with CAT tools. So with preparation of these courses and aligning these courses into our curricula is very important. And when interactivity in a face-to-face mode, it's of course much easier to interact, and the students usually are very active and interested to learn more, to ask questions, and when you can dynamically adjust this course to their needs. In online mode, it's much more difficult. This interaction is if a speaker is shown on this screen only and is remotely. There are tools like Adobe tool used by Turku University that can help in this, but to also to make this interaction more efficient, what we believe that probably is worth also to have a step of how to call it train the trainer process, or to show teachers, academic staff of university, train them how to use these tools so that they can provide a good on-site assistance and individual support to students. Yeah, and
we need to move on.
yeah. Yeah, this is what wraps up my presentation, and I would like to encourage you to take these opportunities, not to be afraid. Industry is your friends, and industry has a lot to offer to you in terms of both software, industry practices, and this will just encourage you to contact us and to get involved in to scale up this cooperation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andres. We're moving now to the academia to have the perception as well from the side of one of the universities, Turku University, which belongs to the EMT. So we've got one of the lecturers that took part in one of these projects and also one of the students. And they're going to be talking from the perspective of project management, which was another similar project.
Yes, hello, I'm Leena Salmi, and this is Marianne Kaltiokumpu-Blomgren. And so now you will hear the academia point of view to this cooperation, from and a teacher point of view and student point of view. So just a brief example of other types of cooperation that we have had. We've had lectures by both professionals that come to our courses and classes, and give sometimes also hands-on tutoring sessions like the one Andreas was talking about. And we also have this scheme of mentoring, where we have had local LSP professionals who come to during the course when students are doing teamwork to see what the students are doing and discuss with them. So here's just a picture of one of those sessions with students, 3 students in a team, and then the CEO of a local translation company discussing with them. And here I'll just give you 2 examples of 2 cooperations during 2 different courses. So we've had this, like Jorge mentioned, we have had this cooperation on a project management tool, which is the XTRF. And that was done with the company providing the tool, as well as an LSP, which was this text and form LSP company based in Berlin. And then we had this cooperation with Tilde on the machine translation engine. And the MT session was part of a translation technology course. We have one compulsory technology course, and then another which is advanced and optional. And that course then was concentrated on MT and post-editing. And there we had one video conference lecture from Riga, and the lecturer was, like Andres said, somewhere behind the screen. And then our students were in Finland, but during the session they also could use online the tool that they have with the interface that you saw. So we had both interaction and distance lecture. But that was just during one 2-hour session. And then the other cooperation form was this project management course, and that took part of our multilingual translation workshop course. That's actually an LSP simulation course where the course starts so that students are divided into teams, and after that they work in that team during the whole course, and it simulates work in a translation company, where students have different roles as project manager, translator, revisor, etc. And during that course, we were using the XTRF as a project management tool, and it started by we had one video conference lecture explaining the tool from XTRF in Poland, and after that we had some hands-on tutoring sessions with one of the translators at Text on Form, who is currently using the tool herself. So this is just an image of the workshop website, the course website, and this is how the hands-on session started. Or actually, there was one kickoff meeting, as she put it, with the translator in Berlin, and here you can see her slides. This was the beginning of her slides, and the video is from our class. You can see our teacher and the students, and there was a chat function as well in Adobe Connect. So this is how it started. She gave a short presentation of how she uses the tool in her work, and after that, during the following weeks, once a week or once in 2 weeks, the students had a chat session with the translator. So here you have just an image of the chat, where students are asking practical questions on how to use this and that, and she is answering. So it went on during like half an hour on a certain day, and that worked actually quite well, and because she was very committed to it, and our students were appreciating to have to work with a real translator. So if you think of the good and bad sides of this kind of a cooperation, then the challenges with tools and technical training is of course for the teacher to be able to keep up with the pace of technology changing, and there's also the problem of finding a pedagogical point of view. How do I teach this, and where does this fit in my course? And also sometimes it's very difficult to be able to set up the system in a university class where there are different kinds of restrictions on the use of computers. Students just can't save everything on the hard disk like you would do when you're using the tool yourself. But then Marianne will continue from this.
Yeah, hi. Just a brief explanation what I did. I took part on the course where we had project management and we had cooperation with the companies. And it's probably been the best course that I had in the university. So the challenges, adding to the ones that Lena said, is, for example, finding the suitable tools, because the tools are developing all the time and changing a lot. So already I see that the tools have changed, the ones that I have been using for the ones that are used now at the course. And also the suitable tools for the students to be able to use back at home. Because if they're usable only at the university, it's quite challenging because you have to manage your time. The other challenge, big challenge, is that we don't have enough time to thoroughly learn the tools. So there's great variety of tools that we use and we get the basics for them. So, but the time is not enough to actually learn them thoroughly. And the advantages, do you want me to continue?
Yeah,
yes. One of the best advantages is that it creates a real-life simulation for the student, and it really felt like we are working as a company, as a translation company, and I think that I got a lot out of it, and I'm much more confident going out there searching for a job or putting up my own company. Yes, getting up-to-date information and training on the tools, that's very important. We got a good overview of the tools available, and as I said, we don't have enough time to thoroughly learn the tools, but we get the basics of the tools, so this is definitely an advantage. So we can go back home and learn ourselves the rest of it, or the tools that we want to use. And also, of course, the contacts with the potential employers. So we made a lot of contacts, and the industry is not that wide in Finland, I would say. So, or at least in my city. So I know quite a bunch of people from the industry. So I'm happy taking part of this course. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to move now quickly with my laptop there and continue with the talk. This wasn't expected. This is the exciting bit. So we hope it's going to work. But there is no... Yeah. Yes. And hopefully the sound will also work when we do. But my name is this on? Sorry. My name is Jorge Diarcintas from University College London, and I'm part also of the group LIND. And one of the things that we're looking now into the future is to develop all the skills in new areas of translation that are probably not so well catered in some educational centers. And one of them being particularly audiovisual translation. We had earlier on today with the keynote speaker information about how things are changing in the industry and how we are all becoming sort of prosumers or producers using material and so on. And this is one of the areas that is exploding as well in the industry. Think about Netflix or Hulu or iFlix, other companies that haven't even reached Europe. And yet we seem to be one of the lowest industries to take up these challenges of OTT or of the top distribution of audiovisual material. Most of the bigger players are all Americans or from other parts of the world. China is growing, exploding in transmission of information over the net, over the cloud, but not so much in Europe. So this is one of the things that we would like to cater for within LIND and try to help universities to come up with these new areas which are in the cloud. Very briefly, information here to give you an overview of how much we are consuming on the net. I cannot see myself very well because of the way the computer is, but you can see there that almost 5 billion videos are watched only on YouTube every single day. Irrespective of Netflix or any other companies, but just on YouTube, the number of hours that people are uploading there. So even if everybody was a subtitler, we just wouldn't be able to translate these massive volumes of translation that we're finding on the internet. And there is a great appetite for content that is distributed audiovisually. I've been talking here, but I was very pleased yesterday to come into the big room and having videos with subtitles that it took me a while to understand what it was all about, but it's a campaign by the European Union to motivate new entrepreneurs and so on, and all based on subtitling. And I was then discussing things with people from the Commission and the Council that are also developing areas of subtitling, but still not quite there. Now, from the technology point of view, whoever has been translating or teaching translation, subtitling these days, we've been working with desktop programs, which can be commercial, like this one here is called WinCaps, but it can also be freely available. That the technology has changed radically in the industry. So you can now get on the internet and there are literally hundreds of programs, subtitling programs that are free and you can download. That was Subtitle Workshop. You've got commercial programs, you've got freeware, but also companies developing their own software. Now this has been up to now and still we continue this way, but what we're finding now is that everything is going to the cloud. And then we're working, we don't have to install anything, we just go on the cloud and we work from there. There are many companies, and I'm going to move here to the cloud. There are many companies working now in the cloud. The challenge for us as teachers is that most of them won't show you what they're doing because that is the edge that they've got over their competitors. So you've got people like Nordisk Untertest, you've got Netflix creating their own platform, which is called Originator, but very few people have got access to it yet. Then you've got Sphere Studios, you've got Deluxe, you've got iUno, iMedia, etc., etc. But most of them will be very cagey to show us what they're doing because they know that the competitors might be using that, and this is an area that is just exploding now. So far, we have found, or there are available cloud-based systems for subtitling, not so much for dubbing, if you're working in that field, but there are already companies. There's one based in Britain called Zoo Digital. They already have a platform to do dubbing in the cloud. Again, you don't need to download anything, you just go there and work. Now, ideally, I should be able now to go out from here and show you how it looks like, okay? Because that was the idea, that it wasn't going to be too theoretical, but you could also see how it works. And that was, I was panicky at the beginning because there was no connection to internet, that computer wasn't work, but I think now it seems to work. Now, this is the platform that I'm gonna show you. You don't need to have anything. This is available for people to test it, and they're quite happy for the academia to be using it to just show the new generations. It's a bit silly to be training people for the future in programs that are already being superseded by new areas. So this is a platform that is called Una, and if I go in here, I can get the entry to this area. You just log in. If you haven't got it, you just go for a free trial and they will send you a code, but otherwise I'll just log in because I've got my code with them. You can see already that one of the problems that is withholding some of these developments is the speed to the internet. Okay, so if you're slow or your internet connection is slow, then you're going to have trouble to then connect and do your proper work. And that's why still we've got, for instance, there's a platform that just came out recently called Subtitle Next, which is a hybrid. They rely on you having something installed on your computer, but then you can do most of the things on the internet. Now, this is what it looks like when you walk into this platform. I don't need to do anything. I just log in, and then I have several modules in there. Some of them you will have Create or Create Pro. Create Simple will allow you to do subtitles and nothing more. Create Pro will help you with shot changes, so the computer or the program will see where the shot changes happen so that you don't have to worry too much, and then you can avoid having your subtitles across. They will also have speech recognition, and this is an area that has developed a lot in subtitling and dubbing because it's quite essential for us. So the computer will be listening to the audio that is being spoken, and then it will tell you with a sound wave where there are silences that you can avoid and where people are speaking, and then you can be much more thorough and much more clean with your timings and timeouts. So there are several activities that we can do as audiovisual translators. You can just spot, originate, create the subtitles from scratch. They give you a video and you start translating. But you can also do the translation or correct the translation of some other people. Yeah, that they've done. So you've got the revision here, what this company calls. Or if you work a little bit in subtitling, or if you know a little bit how it works, it might well be that the technical dimension is being done by somebody else. So they give you the time in, the time out, they're taking care of all the shot changes, everything. But you just have a template, as we call it, which has got lots of numbers for the timing of the subtitles. And then the text, usually in English. And then from there you translate into X number of languages. Now that is changing, and Netflix last year, they already acknowledged that English is not going to be their main working language in a few years' time. And we can see already lots of productions that come in different languages that a few years' time weren't available. And it's a little bit of a shame, being a European, that it is thanks to Netflix, an American company, that now Spanish products or French products are popular throughout the world. Shame that we haven't done it before with some OTT European that we could distribute our programs and so on. But we've waited for Netflix to put money into La Casa de Papel or Marseille or all these TV series that are in different languages and not us. I don't know if you're aware, but just a week or 2 weeks ago, the European Union passed some sort of legislation. People like Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu, they will be obliged to have at least 30% of their archives in domestic productions. Now, the finicky thing here is, what is domestic in France? Is what is French, or if it's European is enough. But that is, big corporations like Netflix and so on are working into getting at least that 30%, which will, in principle, boost our production of indigenous television and programs. So this is in that context. So in here you can go, and I will show you, this is Create Pro, what it looks like. So if I go there, I created a little project, so not to go through all these things, but it's pretty basic. So if I go here, and I've got a very little clip here, it will tell me the program if I want to play along and see what it does. But basically, this is, I've got a video, which is a very easy video there. It's fully customizable, so I can choose how I play with my keyboard to move the video and then also create my subtitles. So the way I've done it is, if I do number 5, if I play here, and I'm not sure if the sound, they're not talking much now, but later on you will hear, and I think you can.
I wonder what happened to the one from last year.
Yeah, and if I do 5, it will stop the video, and I will continue playing. If I do 5, it's just because the internet is a bit too slow there, but but I've muted it without. Sorry, yeah, there.
I'm out here, and the one from last year's. I wonder what.
So let's say I wanted to start there, my subtitle. So I just got my own keyboard here, and if I just do that, you can see lots of numbers appearing on the top there. 1502, that's where my subtitle is going to start. So
What
I'll play a
happened to the
little bit
one from
more.
last year?
That's going to be the end of my subtitle. I press another keyboard that I've got here, set, customized for myself, and that tells me it's going to start 1502, finish in 1705, it's going to last 205, 203. And if I just go here, and you pardon my French when I translate here, this is going to be my translation. Okay, and then there, and you can still see that as many subtitling programs do, lots of colors. So it's telling me I'm gone red here because I've written far too much text for the time that they are speaking. But if I want to decide, okay, that's too long for that translation, I'll go down. Then you can see the red line is coming closer to what it should be ideal, which is the black box there. And I just return again in here. I got the end of my subtitle. I return again subtitle number 2, and I continue the same. So I don't need to install anything on my computer. I'm doing this through the internet, and this company is actually based in Israel. Okay, so they are now working, and they are acknowledging my video here. I'll just close, and then I've got my subtitles done without any trouble. I can continue working tomorrow in London, in Paris, or wherever I am, without having to worry about anything in there. So once I'm finished with this one, the other thing that we can do here, I'll show you only something else, is translate. Somebody has done the template in English, and I need to translate. And I simply open here. Again, I prepare a little project here, and you can see this is from another film called Charade. So what I've got here, it looks slightly different, is I've got a template in this part of the screen, which is in English. And that one, the computer, the program won't allow me to do much in there, because that is a template. In the profession, I'm not supposed to be playing with that, but I will do my translation here into Spanish, and then I will do there whatever I want as my translation. Yeah, and I will move down the subtitles here. I've done 2 subtitles, but if I go down there, the rest are empty, and I only need to copy whatever I think. The good thing in here is that at the same time, I can be watching the video. And surprisingly, it wasn't the case until very recently, that you were just working on a document that was a docs or a document with a macro, but you weren't allowed to just play with the video unless you minimize your word, then you minimize your video player, and then you could just see both of them. Okay, so this is one of the areas that we know is the future. That's what is going to be happening in not much time. It's happening already in the way we're producing subtitles, but it still is very challenging to get to know how this works and train the students that in 5 years or in 2 years are going to be working in this. And this is one of the other projects that we're thinking with LIND as having an opportunity to help other institutions and other people to work in this field. I think that probably is enough for my presentation as well. I'm sorry I took the benefit of being the chair of the session to just jump in and give you some information on this, but we felt it was appropriate for this sort of angle on what are the things that we want to do through LIND, the language industry group in the European Union, and also with universities. We still have 10 minutes or so for questions. So I open now the floor from here. I'll probably move and sit there with my colleagues. But we leave it open for any questions that you may have and address to any of us in this presentation. Thank you. Yep.
Yes, first of all, thank you very much for such a great presentation and session, since actually, I represent Ukraine, and in Ukraine I'm doing very much similar things as Andres and Lena, and that's why it's very, refreshing to know that there are many other people doing the same things in the world. Yeah, so the questions are the following. To Andres, I get, and to Lena. Who initiates the cooperation when you started? The both parties, or it was academia or industry? Since actually, as it was mentioned not once, it's pretty often that academia is not that fast. So there are some urges from industry that should help you about it. And the second question is to Andres. Speaking about the online courses, we were trying to do in Ukraine the same. And when I tried to discuss the issue with the academia, well, they were not quite uneasy. They tried to show me that it's like crossing the borderlines, the red lines, since actually this is the academia, part to teach and to do and so on and so forth. In spite of the fact that I also represent academia, I teach at the university, but still. So this is the point. Didn't you feel that you're crossing the red line when you try to make courses that will teach instead of academia?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. In our case, our countries are not very big, so there are close ties between people, and the universities approach us. And because they know us, many of our colleagues are former students from universities, and so there are this was an interest first shown by the universities, and that was maybe what is maybe the key factor of successful future cooperation, because there should be motivation, willingness, and genuine enthusiasm and interest from university side to engage in this cooperation. Answering to your second question about this crossing the red line, I understand your question in a way that we, in some situations, really, there is some reluctance from some academic staff, some teachers. They think that by involving university, they may seem too old school, too outdated, and this could put them in a comparison to like state-of-the-art fancy developments in the industry. But these are in the real life. This is not the case. When there is a trust between both sides, then we are not it's not in our interests to go into areas what universities are strong in, and we are not and I think the industry is not interested in academic teaching, and universities should not be ashamed that they do not know the latest tools. It's not their role to be savvy in all the latest technologies, and this is where cooperation goes. And if we work together on these courses and put this curricula together, then it works very fine.
Yeah. If I can just add to the initiation, and the XTRF cooperation was actually initiated via the EMT network, the European Masters in Translation that we are part of, and the language industry network that the Commission has. So Kim Harris from the Text and Form was part of the LIND network, and I was our representative of the EMT network. So that's how it started. And I think this EMT network is a good place to start this kind of cooperation.
Do we have any other questions? Is there anybody else? Otherwise, we've got a volunteer here. Okay, well, if you would like to.
Yes, then I have a question, Jorge, to you. There are two, in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, there are two extreme points of view about audiovisual translation and training. The first point of view that all this is overmuch complicated, that it's practically impossible to train a good audiovisual translator. And another point of view is, well, expressed actually was by Anthony Pym. I remember last summer there was summer school in Poland, and he was just, well, we need 2 hours to train an audiovisual translator, so it really takes no efforts at all. Where is the truth? Thank you.
Well, I reckon a happy medium will be okay. I know the issues with the industry thinking that, it's very complicated to train people outside the industry, and probably it was a few years back when the technology wasn't available at universities. I've been teaching this since, the late 90s, and it wasn't easy. Freeware wasn't in existence. Companies will charge a lot of money for the software and so on. So if you really wanted to train people with the right technology, then it was pretty difficult, if not impossible, unless you really struck some agreements with some of the companies. These days, technology has evolved really, really fast, and I wouldn't agree with people saying that this can only be taught within the industry. And what we're finding as well is that it's changing a lot, and many companies are much more willing to establish a dialogue with universities and see how they can improve their technology in a way that if it's too complicated, it can be done a bit easier, so that you will be able to teach a group of 50 students that you've got in front of you rather than one that you are probably training in-house. And for instance, this company that I was showing you very briefly, they're actually working on an interface that is going to be academic interface. They understand that the fully blown version might be a little bit too complex for educational purposes when you don't have a lot of time to train. So maybe just for the basics, they could come up with something easier, so that then in a few sessions you will give the students the basics. Then if they want to do more, they're free to continue and do something else. So I think that is evolving in that way to help us as well to bridge that gap. But I think it can easily be taught as well. And I'm glad to see that some of the people that I've taught are now instigating change here at the European Commission or the European Council. So it does happen. Any other questions or? Yep.
I have a question to Marianne. After taking all these courses, where do you see your place in the industry now, and having all that connections with the employers and that experience of simulating LSP and things like that?
That's a tricky question since I didn't yet finish my studies, but I'm about to. I'm writing my thesis at the moment. I am determined to search for a job, but meanwhile I'm thinking of putting up my own company in order to be able to practice the translation work. So this is what I'm planning. We'll see how it goes.
She's growing confidence for that. Well, thank you very much for having asked the four of us. So I think that sort of fits in well with the proceedings. I'm told that we need to finish by now, so that you can probably have the quickest coffee that you've ever had, because by 11:30 they're expecting us in the Gasperi room for the talk by the commissioner. So see you then a bit later. Thank you very much.